Beautiful. Hello, my name is Lawrence Villegas, and I was the master distributor with Cosiva, the manufacturer of TRS. Some of you may or may not know that I recently resigned over several concerns, but that is not the topic today. Over the next 10 minutes, I want to talk about Dr. Holdford's original zeolite product, made with a natural zeolite. Now, some of you know that with Cosiva, we were selling TRS, which is made with a synthetic zeolite. These two products are both made by Dr. Holdford, except there's a couple of differences, but it only gets better. Now, what I'd like to do is introduce you to one of the most knowledgeable specialists I've ever met on zeolite. He's a visionary. He is a product advocate for zeolite, and he's all about the good inside it will do people. And he's also the founder of Touchstone Essentials, probably the cleanest product line I've ever encountered. So it's my honor to introduce Mr. Eddie Stone. Eddie, welcome.
Lawrence, pleasure to be with you and have a chance to spend time with you and your audience.
Thank you. So let's just jump right into the subject matter here. The subject is zeolites and safe heavy metal detox.
It's in the modern world we live in, it's a great subject, right?
Exactly. So I want you to take us on the history of your journey with zeolites and how you came about working with this miracle mineral called zeolite.
Well, my introduction was back in the spring of 2005, maybe early winter of that year. And I understood a fair amount about the role of toxicity and health, particularly as it would impact the immune system, either toxicity acting as a stimulant, so autoimmune issues, or otherwise. My mom actually had a problem with toxicity. Her body was actually poisoning itself, and the only thing that really saved her, and this was back in the late 1980s, was a very aggressive chelation therapy, which has all kinds of side effects and other issues associated with it. But it was really eye-opening to me at the time as to what could happen with toxicity and agents that help to detoxify the body or support detoxification. So that led me to the introduction to zeolites back in 2005. And so I've had the good fortune of working with them ever since. And I am a huge fan of what can be done with a properly prepared zeolite product and the kind of support it can provide to people sort of dealing with all these kinds of issues that I'm sure we'll speak about in just a little bit. Ultimately, that company that I was with, I left that organization after a successful period there, actually sold my minority interest to that company, and eventually looked to start Touchstone, which you're familiar with now, right. Really focused on clean ingredients, but the centerpiece, a zeolite product, or actually two zeolite products. And through the R&D that we began, as we began to put together the company, we were introduced to Dr. Tracy Holdford. And that was a great day. Dr. Holdford, as you recognize, is a brilliant man, knows a lot, not just about zeolites, but nutrition in general. So we contracted with Dr. Holdford in the spring of 2011 to really help us put together a zeolite, sort of a processing framework that would allow us to bring what we feel like and believe still today is the cleanest, clearly the most natural zeolite product in the marketplace. The beginnings for us was with a product called Pure Body Regular. And if anybody actually is familiar with our company, then they know that product is sort of a centerpiece of detox, particularly throughout the digestive system and the gut. And we introduced that product to the public back in March of 2012, actually coinciding with the soft launch of our company. And then later that spring, we introduced Pure Body Extra, which is the nano-sized version of that product. Both of those are based upon the natural zeolite clinoptilolite. And the reason we went that direction as opposed to synthetics or other types of zeolites that were available is that's really where the safety history comes from. If you look at zeolite sort of around the globe, and there's just a lot of data out there for anybody that spent time on PubMed or other places, they've seen some of this data that's there. That's really where that raw research and data exists, is with clinoptilolite. It's a sheet-like zeolite, so we understand its safety with human beings, and that's why clinoptilolite enjoys GRAS status with the FDA. For those that aren't familiar with GRAS, it stands for Generally Recognized as Safe, and that really gives a signal to the public that this is a product that, as far as I know, there are no known contraindications associated with it. It's been safely consumed by humans for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And so that's really why we chose that direction. And of course, we remain impressed today with what the product can do.
Wow, you covered a lot of area there. So that was the launch of Touchstone. For clarification for the audience, Eddie, so you're saying that Dr. Tracy Holdford, the formulator for TRS, is the same scientist that formulated Pure Body Extra, the original Nano-Zeolite product for your company back in 2012.
Yeah, that's right. So the work with Touchstone, the original product, the natural product instead of the synthetic, that all originates with Dr. Holdford in that spring of 2011. And we just really had a great opportunity there working with him on the development of the product, a process to clean that natural zeolite and at the same time prepare it for a better representation of the body of the ion exchange, and ultimately then refining that further from the regular product, which is a 0.4 micron product. To give you some comparison, right, a red blood cell or white blood cell, should say, is a 25 micron. So just to give you some comparison there, and then ultimately create the nano-sized product that's our Pure Body Extra. So that's really the original formulation, the original processes started there, and that was with Dr. Holdford.
Okay, so I understand now why you went with a natural zeolite from Mother Nature as opposed to the synthetic, because all the safety data backs it up. To your knowledge, has any of these studies or animal studies or research, has any of that been done on the synthetic? Your knowledge?
Well, the universe is obviously large, right? So there are things that I don't know that I don't know, but I'm unaware of particularly that low-hanging searchable research where the synthetic product, which would be referred to as a sodium magnesium alumosilicate, right? That's
Right.
that synthetic product. I'm unaware of that research being done either with animals or humans. I don't believe that enjoys the GRAS status from the FDA. And in fact, if you look at the history of the magnesium aluminum silicate, it was really a product that was designed for the rubber industry or the tire, automobile tire industry. It's frankly, it's a filler, and that it's used in conjunction with titanium dioxide to dissipate heat in automobile tires. And so it's an off-the-shelf industrial product because of the scope and the cost associated with manufacturing a artificial synthetic zeolite. It isn't something that companies are able to do so that they've got a purpose-built zeolite just for, say, a supplement product. So they're forced to use these off-the-shelf industrial solutions. And that that's not a direction as a company. It does not align with our values. If people go and look at our site and see where our thoughts are as it relates to sustainability, organic, and other issues, that just was not a product we were prepared to work with, particularly when a solution resides in nature with safety history. So that's why we chose the direction we chose.
Yes. And as I first started to look into your company and started looking into Dr. Holdford's original Nano-Zeolite product and looking back at what we were selling at Cosiva, the TRS made with the synthetic, I realized that they were the same, but in many ways, they were the same nano size, 30 to 55 nanograms, I think is what you told me, something around there. But they're the same small nano size. They're both encased in water, so they can travel anywhere in the body. Water can travel. They're both ultra clean. Yours is third-party verified, tested, and except one comes from nature, Pure Body comes from nature, and our product comes from what you just said, a synthetic that is manufactured. And there's a lot of different words for that, synthetic, lab grown, but they're all pretty much the same. And I started to realize that these two products were the same, except that you put yours in a glass bottle and they put theirs in a plastic bottle. TRS puts theirs in a plastic bottle. But the best part was that consumers get 2 ounces in a glass bottle as for the price, same price or less than you would buy 1 ounce in a plastic bottle. And it never made sense to me to put a product that detoxifies plastic residue in a plastic bottle, but so be it. But we did see some amazing results with TRS, and I'm sure you've seen some amazing results and benefits with Pure Body Extra. Can you speak to the benefits of Pure Body Extra, what you've seen in your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of our pricing strategy is about access. Having this, nearly 15-year history with zeolites, the one thing that's impressed upon me is just what a difference it can make in people's lives. And it's oftentimes sort of controversial health-related challenges that they just can't quite put their finger on, right? Mm-hmm. They go to all kinds of medical doctors, every sort of Western-style facility that's out there, and yet no one can really put their finger on the problem. That's the experience I had with my own mom, right? She was really sort of withering away on us, and no one could really identify, what was wrong. Ultimately, chelation and detoxification really addressed her issues, and she's a very healthy 70-some-year-old woman today, right? And so for me, access is a real key. In talking about the products and the results, let's just take a minute and backtrack to, why does the zeolite work? And fundamentally, the zeolite works because it helps to attract in and of to itself heavy metals, environmental pollutants. So we're talking about cadmium, lead, mercury, things of this kind that maintain a positive charge because the zeolite has a natural negative charge. And so much like the south end and the north end of a magnet, when they get close to one another via proximity, they're going to sort of snap together. Quite literally, that's how the product works in the body. And in this case, what's important is the smaller the substance, the better. I know it for most people is a bit counterintuitive, but smaller here actually creates a greater surface area. So I'll give people sort of this visual to think about. If I had a basketball in front of me here on my desk, right? Pretty large sphere with a large surface area, right? If I painted it up and rolled it around my desk, I could probably cover my entire desk with paint from the ball. However, if I take that basketball and I cut it along the top and I put BBs inside, or let's say I put something like grains of sand inside, all of those individual spheres, even though some as sand grains would be misshapen, collectively have exponentially more surface area than the basketball does. And so when we think about it going inside our body, if we can quite literally compress the surface area, create more surface areas that enters the body in, say, a water droplet or a spray or something of that kind, you've got this not quite infinitely more, but an exponentially more surface area to interact inside the body, particularly as we talk about a proximity standpoint. So you mentioned it can go anywhere that water goes. Using Malvern instrumentation, which is the kind of instrumentation you would use on something of this kind, we're talking about nano-sized particles that go from, say, 0.7, which is extraordinarily large, up to just above 1, 2, maybe as much as 3 in terms of nanogram size, right? So we're talking about exceptionally large, small. And just to give folks a perspective, anything 10 nanograms or smaller, really there doesn't need to be much more of a detailed discussion, right? That is so incredibly small. And it's small enough that it's allowed or able to travel through water channels into the cell. They're called aquaprinas, identified by science. Well, now that surface area that's increased by the reduction of the size, not only does it have the ability to expose its tunnels and channels. And in fact, there's an extraordinary photograph on our website. If people are curious, you can go to the Pure Body Extra page and you can actually see the photograph under a microscope of the zeolite particle. And you can actually see through the shadows one of these chambers that actually has this negative charge, right? So you can kind of see how it works. But at that size, you also have the potential for something called a zeta effect. So not only can it take into itself, right, to help to attract and hold on to those positively charged particles, heavy metals that you don't want in your body, it can also, just like a snowball through the zeta effect, attract it to the outside. So there's really an extraordinarily interesting and impressive accumulative factor of how it works inside the body. And for people that are a little skeptical, I've just seen at this stage in my life, literally tens of thousands of people use the product and see better sleep, more energy, just all kinds of benefits from using it. It's almost like, hey, get the bad stuff out, be conscious about putting some good stuff in, and let the body do its work from an immune standpoint, for health and vitality standpoint. It's just been extraordinary to work with this just simple, natural mineral. But frankly, Lawrence, it's akin to, I think of almost like a miracle mineral. I mean, it's just that exciting to work with.
Yes, Eddie. Eddie, I think we've established, you've covered a lot of area here, but we've established that synthetic, the lab-grown, lab-born, manufactured, artificial, they're pretty much all the same. And you've just established that the safety studies and most of the data out there, most of the research has been done on the zeolite from Mother Nature that you use in your Pure Body Extra. I'd like to ask you one last question, and that is, are the synthetics, the ones like in TRS, are the synthetics on the generally regarded as safe list, by the FDA? Are they recognized the same way or not?
I'm unaware of anything from an FDA standpoint in regards to the GRAS status for those synthetic or man-made products. There may be something there that I'm not aware of, and I'm sort of willing to recognize that. But if a person then goes and looks up, so one of the most commercially recognized and most likely what manufacturers that are using a synthetic are using is called hydrox silicate. And they can go look it up for themselves to sort of see the details. I mean, that's the information I was exposed to when we were making our decisions. And just given that it wasn't purposely developed for human consumption, that was enough pause for me to look at the natural mineral product that enjoys GRAS status, has been used globally in this regard, and the reason why we made the decisions we made.
Well, thank you, Eddie. And ladies and gentlemen, you can see why my decision to make the switch to Pure Body Extra as opposed to TRS was a no-brainer. But the best part is you get twice as much in a glass bottle for less money. So that makes it more affordable for you, the consumer. So we want to thank you for being on the call today. We want to thank Eddie Stone. Thank you, Eddie, for being on the call. And we want to invite you to click on the link below where you can get additional savings on our limited time savings promo. We want to thank you again. Happy detoxing. Goodbye.